Morning, everyone. It is 8:35 on this Thursday morning, and because it's Thursday, it is Claims Day. We also have some third look at first quarter GDP, so let's just get to it. This is your video number 1811. Okay, so uh, claims initial 239. That's not a good number. We were expecting 264, and so that's a fairly substantial dip. And on continuing claims, 1,742,000. That's below the all important 1.8 million, and has been pretty stout right there. So we're really, things are getting somewhat better in some of these things, but not in claims. The first quarter GDP revised. This is how's this for a revision? This is the example that proves the rule vis-a-vis how much you can rely on these. 2% versus 1.3. That means they were 50% off what was being expected. The deflator was, let's see, the deflator was 4.2 versus 3.8, not great, and 4.1 month over, pardon me, year over year. That's not the best. It's also not the worst. Stock futures, which this morning at 7 o'clock were up 115, didn't do much coming into the numbers. At the number, we went up as high as up 160, and now we're up 122. So really not much. NASDAQ up 68 to up about 62, so not much there either. The last is up 40, so that's coming off too. S&P up 16 to up 17 to now up about 12. So they're all coming off, and they're coming off because interest rates are higher again. And on the 2 and 10, we are now back solidly above 100. And, even though we've been around that 98 to 100 level on and off all week, we are pretty solidly above it. The all time high, I think, or the high in the last several years, is 107, and that was only intraday. And after it went to 107, it fell all the way back to 55 over the following several weeks. So we've given all of that back. Okay, so we had MU earnings. Micron, they were not overwhelming, but they were not terrible. But it does go to show you what a volatile market on a fundamental basis that chips are. They're talking about now working off excess inventory. 6 months ago, you couldn't buy a chip. A year ago, you couldn't buy a chip. Now, all of a sudden, things are better. So the stock had closed at 67.07 yesterday, got up as high as 69.87. Let me just get a fresh quote on that one for you. You the last is 68.72, and that is up $1.68. But a solid dollar and change off the high. Berkshire Hathaway raises its stake in OXY to 25%. Pending home sales, by the way, come out at 10 o'clock today. Overstock, OSTK, changing their name and their website to Bed Bath and Beyond after spending $21 million for the IP and digital assets from the bankruptcy court. Goldman Sachs came out this morning with a nice interview about why commodity prices and oil will continue firm. Okay, so this is usually the spot where I give you a warning about something. And I will have that, but I also want to give you the other side of that. There is a company The symbol is SGTX. And that is a little biotech. And what's interesting about it is it's being bought by Eli Lilly. And they're paying $14.92. The stock this morning has traded as high as 43.70. That's up yesterday's close at $3.93. What's interesting about this one is it is a valid deal. However, they did just reverse split the stock 1 for 13. And the reason that it's trading up here in the 32 area with that bid is that there is a contingent offer based on meeting um, benchmarks of an additional $126 a share. So this one is real. There's no saying what it's going to look like vis-a-vis whether they make the benchmarks, but it is a platform, very much like Moderna's MRA is a platform. So the use of this in all kinds of drugs is more than possible, possibly even um, probable, which is why Lilly is buying them. But that's what the number looks like. And on the other side, here's your warning: BTAI. And no, it is not a an AI company. It is BioXcel Therapeutics, and they reported initially a good number on one of their phase 2 trials, but there was also a problem with one of the numbers. So the stock closed yesterday in the neighborhood of 1767. On the headline about the results, it got up to, let's see, 21.99. Unfortunately, it didn't hold that, and the rest of the news came out, and it traded all the way down to 5.25. The last on it right now, $7.30, down $10.37, or just a scant 60%. So there's good and there's bad, and it happens every day, and I try and bring you that. Okay, the chart on the screen is the bonds, and I'm just wondering, this, by the way, is a 4-year chart. Goes back to the blow-up high here, where the bonds traded as high as 191 and 22 seconds. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and possibly 8 lower highs, followed by lower lows. So this trend has been solidly down. What's interesting to me is that we've seen this kind of a bear flag in a couple of commodities. And if you believe that interest rates are going lower, this would be where they're going to have to break from. Let me take you back to the daily, and you can see it a little more clearly. Here's the 3-month, and this is that bottom, and it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. If we do break down here, I'll show you what has happened with similar charts. My favorite one to point out, of course, is the coffee, because it was absolutely a classic this way. And I mentioned that in last week's and the week before's letter. Here is what the coffee looks like on a longer term basis. Downtrend, bear flag, break, rally back to the point where it stopped before, broke down. Now, this might not look like much to you, but from 190 to 161, let's just call it 30 points. At 300, I think that the number is pretty massive on what a point is worth, but let's just check. Contract specs. Okay, so that's basically $187 a point. And that $187 a point turns into 30 points, or roughly $7,000. It's right back now down to the rising 200-week MA. Maybe it holds, maybe it doesn't, but for sure it came out of here like a shot. And there are several others. It also did it here, where we had a huge cascading sell off from 230 down to 140. All right, folks, that's about it. Back later on, and don't forget that we have at 10 o'clock we have the pending home sales, and then at 10:30 the nat gas inventories.